We have the pleasure this evening of recognizing highly accomplished jurists, each of whom have made powerful and lasting contributions to improving our system of justice throughout the state of California. We have 3 awardees this evening to honor, each of whom will be introduced by someone that knows them well. Immediately following the ceremony this evening, we have a reception that you saw being set up in the foyer, and we want everybody to stick around so we can enjoy the inspiration that we experience and talk about the positive path to the future that we're going to hear about tonight. The annual presentation of these awards is intended to recognize the demonstrated and unselfish commitment to our judicial system shown by these 3 individuals. But it is also an opportunity to share with the broader community and the public at large the inspiration that comes from hearing about their efforts, their accomplishments, and their insights. To that end, we start our evening by hearing from the 29th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, leader of our judicial branch, and chair of the Judicial Council, who herself is a constant source of strength, vision, as well as a model of integrity and excellence, not only for the judicial branch and all of us that participate in it, but for our entire government and for all the citizens of the state of California. Please, let's welcome Chief Justice Patricia Guerrero.
Thank you so much, Presiding Judge Moorman. We appreciate you acting as MC. Where are you? You're trying to hide. On behalf of the Judicial Council tonight and keeping things running as smoothly as you do in your courtroom. I'd like to add my welcome as Chief Justice of California and Chair of the Judicial Council to all of you here today. Welcome to our award honorees, Judicial Council members, our award partners, and our staff. And of course, a special welcome to the family, friends, and colleagues of our honorees, Judge Juhasz, Presiding Justice Edmon, and Justice Slough. You also deserve thanks and recognition for assisting them throughout their careers and for making sacrifices which have helped to enable their successes as dedicated public servants. Thank you to all of you as well. I think you deserve a round of applause. And also congratulations to all of us who managed to navigate the APEC meetings to be here. I was a little worried about that. I'm proud to be able to play a role in this celebration of achievement because that is why we're here today, to celebrate these incredible leaders for their accomplishments. The Judicial Council created these awards 30 years ago to honor dedicated public servants for all of the following reasons: for the breadth and impact of their contributions, the nature of the work that they accomplished, the time expended outside of normal work hours, their success in surmounting challenges and limitations, and their contributions to advancing the Council's strategic goals. So far, the Council has honored 117 individuals and 4 different organizations for their commitment to these goals and objectives, and their contributions to access, fairness, diversity, and inclusion, our #1 goal. The Aranda Access to Justice Award, our partnership award with the California Judges Association and the California Lawyers Association, was first presented in 1999, and to date, we've collectively recognized 22 individuals. They have honored the legacy of Judge Benjamin Aranda III. From his Torrance courtroom, Judge Aranda sought to promote fairness and access in the courts, especially for low and moderate income Californians. His role models were Abraham Lincoln and Benito Juarez, both lawyers and statesmen. He once said the following, this is a quote from him: "I'm a small town judge, and that is probably all I will ever be. but I feel if I can do my share to make people a little happier, I will accomplish something to make the world a little bit better place to live. This afternoon, we acknowledge 3 more individuals who have made the world a better place. They have been successful in their own right, but have also benefited countless others through their success because they chose careers in public service and to serve the cause of justice. Another quote for you from Mark Twain, who once said, "Fewer things are harder to put up with than the annoyance of a good example." Get ready, because we're here to celebrate some really good examples. Role models from our judicial branch, for judicial officers and for justice system partners, and for future members of the profession and future leaders of the judicial branch. But we don't share all aspects of Mark Twain's sentiments. Far from being annoyed, we're delighted. We're delighted to be here with you, with your families and friends, to celebrate your dedication, your hard work, and your good example. You have done so much to strengthen judicial independence and enhance the public's trust and confidence in California's judicial branch. Thank you for your service and congratulations on this important recognition by your peers and colleagues, and for having made the world a little bit better place to live. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Among our Distinguished Service Award awardees this evening is the Presiding Justice of the 2nd District Court of Appeal, Lee Smalley Edmon. Among Justice Edmon's among her many accomplishments, and underscore many, has been her tireless and effective leadership in pushing the expansion of the diversity of the California judiciary. She has always believed and walked the walk and worked hard to make sure that our bench reflects the communities that we serve. Prior to her elevation to the Court of Appeal in 2014, she sat on the Los Angeles Superior Court, where she herself broke barriers in 2011 as the first woman elected as the presiding judge. It only took 170 years. Think about it. Anyway, she helped create and now co-chairs the Appellate Mentorship Program to grow and diversify our pool of qualified applicants to the Courts of Appeal. She has dedicated herself to finding solutions to the justice gap by expanding legal assistance to those who can't afford it. And for decades, she has taught on a myriad of subjects to our new judges and justices, our experienced judges and justices, as well as lawyers and law students. And she is a published author. And this is just a few of her endeavors. Let's watch.
She was the first female presiding judge in the then 150-year history of the Los Angeles Superior Court. It wasn't just that she was a woman and she was taking on the mantle of the PJ, it was that Lee Edmon was becoming the first woman PJ. She's such a dynamic, impressive, warm, smart, hardworking, and caring human being. It was a time where the judiciary in California was experiencing unprecedented budget cuts. Not only was Lee leading the group of judges and the whole court really, but she used to keep a packed carry-on suitcase in her chambers because she was called to fly up to Sacramento and to San Francisco with little to no notice with such frequency that she just had her go bag, as I think as they call it.
I met Justice Edmon back in 2012 when we were both presiding judges of our respective trial courts. It was the time of a recession, right? There were tremendous financial difficulties for the state as a whole and the branch. I watched her and learned a lot about politics, but also learned about how to work with and collaborate with people in pretty dire times. It was great to have her and our other colleagues in that time who we could really bounce ideas off. I was chair of the trial court budget funding or advisory committee, and she was still on that committee, and we worked with other presiding judges and CEOs throughout the state to develop a new funding model for the trial courts, one that was, in our opinion, more equitable and based on the workload that came into your court. She was just such a collaborator and willing to look at the greater good on what it means to the trial courts as a whole.
I have a rather unique perspective to talk about diversity in the branch, having been Governor Newsom's Judicial Appointment Secretary. And what I started to realize is the pool was not as deep or diversity in all of its stripes, in terms of women, in terms of practice areas, in terms of people who don't perceive themselves as political but are talented, and that there had and needed to be a way to reach those people, to broaden the pool, so that the governor would have a wider variety of individuals to choose from at a very basic level, have to form credibility bonds with the institutions that form our government. I think that applies wholesale to the bench, that the concept was to match sitting judges with applicants. She rose to the top of the list in terms of people that we wanted to gather in a room to try to flesh this program out. She has such an august reputation in the bar and in the branch. And so when you think about a package of skills that you want an individual to have to be in a room to build a program from the ground up, she's one of the first persons that you think about.
So the two of us together formed the appellate component of the mentorship program. I think we've had over 50 people that this program, the appellate level, has mentored. I think she is the reason why the program is a success. She encourages that everyone should have a seat at the table. Everyone. Those who agree with me, those who disagree with me, those who look like me, those who don't look like me. But we're all seated at the table and we're all treated equally. And that's what we hope our judiciary will reflect.
I think for me and for other women who either are in court leadership or are thinking about getting into court leadership, Lee is sort of our beacon. She's the person that we can point to and say, I think I can do this.
And to present the award this evening, let's welcome another member of court leadership, a powerhouse in her own right, our current presiding judge of the Los Angeles Superior Court, the Honorable Samantha Justner.
I want to start by congratulating the two other awardees before I talk about Lee. Congratulations, Mark. None of you will be surprised that on BART between Oakland Airport and San Francisco today, Mark and I talked about access to justice, more specifically court reporters and electronic recording. So he's never off topic, but we're so proud, and I personally am so proud to have had the opportunity to work with you on the LA Superior Court. And then it was such a bright spot in my day to run into Marcia, Justice Slau, on the street along with Jill, and just get one of those warm, kind of Slau hugs, which all of us need every day. And so I can't thank, the three of you are so perfect for receiving these awards today, so congratulations. So big challenges, right, in introducing Justice Lee Edmon. I may end up repeating what it is that you just saw in the video, because I had not seen it before, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. My admiration and affection for Lee are so great that I, like many of you, I'm sure, want to shout it from the rooftops over and over again. Lee is so impressive, so dedicated to the cause of justice, such a trailblazer, such a salt of the earth human being, and to so many of us here, such a good friend. Any repetition, I think, is entirely merited, so bear with me. Another challenge is, how do you do justice to such an exceptional person? But I'm going to give it a go. Let me start by saying that Lee seems to have no familiarity with the word no. As we've heard, she's not only dedicated herself to the judiciary, she's also dedicated herself to access to justice, diversifying the bench and the pipeline to the practice of law, and education for attorneys and judges. I'll give you just a couple of examples. I'm going to amplify some of these things that I think show both the depth and the breadth of her dedication to all of these things. So for 3 years, Lee served as the chair of the State Bar's Rules Revision Commission. Now, that sounds interesting, huh? But she makes everything interesting. So by way of background, for more than a decade, the State Bar had been working to revise its rules of professional conduct in order to bring them up to date and in line with many other states that had adopted some form of the ABA's model rules of professional conduct. But the rule revisions ultimately proposed by the State Bar were soundly rejected by the California Supreme Court. So that didn't work. So what do? When all else fails, you call in Lee Edmon. In 2015, she agreed to chair a new rules revision commission made up of approximately 30 lawyers, law professors, and legal ethics experts. No egos in those rooms, right? Which met regularly for 3 years. The new rules proposed by that committee, which involved a wholesale revision of the existing rules of professional conduct, were adopted by the Supreme Court in November 2018, thanks in large part to Lee's efforts. So then what? Well, a mere mortal like me would have taken a break from any other substantial undertaking or really anything that required a commitment beyond the duties and responsibilities of a presiding justice of a very busy appellate division. Not Lee Edmon. She agreed to serve as a chair of the State Bar's Task Force on Access Through Innovation in Legal Services from 2018 to 2020. The purpose of this work group or committee was to find innovative solutions for the ever-widening justice gap in California. Once again, she led a task force made up of lawyers, judges, and legal service providers from around the country. The task force heard presentations from legal services providers from around the world and worked to address the challenges of providing access to justice in California and the need for innovation. The task force's recommendations were ultimately adopted by the State Bar. So what else? She continues to author, and I see her co-author here, Judge Kurt Carnell from the San Francisco Superior Court. They author together what is considered the Bible to civil judges and practitioners, the Rudder Guide Civil Procedure Before Trial Treatise. As someone who has worked with Lee on Rudder projects, I can tell you this: she doesn't do it for the money, but rather as a labor of love. She just finished her term as chair of the board of the National Institute for Trial Advocacy, which many of us recognize as NITA. This is a nationwide program devoted to training lawyers, including private lawyers, government lawyers, and legal service providers across the country and indeed across the world in trial advocacy skills. And of course, Lee continues to dedicate time, energy, and unending commitment to access, fairness, diversity, and inclusion by, as you heard from Justice Jenkins and others, serving as the co-chair of the California Judicial Mentor Program for the appellate courts. And even before that program was created, and as Justice Jackson explained it, it was created several years ago, she regularly served as a mentor to people interested in the bench. For many years, she served as the national co-chair of the ABA's litigation section's Judicial Intern Opportunity Program, which provides opportunities for diverse law students to serve as summer interns with state and federal judges, not only across California, but across the country. She continues to work with that program, committing to hire diverse applicants to work in her chambers every summer. In addition, for several years, as many of you also knew, she had vacancies in her division. During that time, she welcomed scores of judges from the superior courts to her division to serve in a pro tem capacity. Lee went out of her way to provide the opportunity to serve pro tem to women and judges from historically underrepresented constituencies. What this meant was that rather than having a pro tem work in her division for a long period, which frankly would have been much easier for her, she brought in and trained new judges every couple of months so that more people could have the opportunity to experience the work of the Court of Appeal and better position themselves for an appellate appointment. So one of the questions in the nomination form for this award was something like, how has the nominee taken risks or overcome great challenges to achieve their objective? I was one of the people who filled out this form, and you've heard many others quoted, Emerson, Churchill, Twain, Hamilton, Frost. I'm gonna quote myself, okay? So I'll get to somebody more famous in a minute, but when I saw that question, I kind of thought to myself, well, this is easy. How many words do I get? I wrote on the form that, and I quote, given that the Los Angeles Superior Court had never elected a female presiding judge to lead its court, it is undeniable that Justice Edmon's decision to run for the position, unopposed as it turned out, reflects someone who was not afraid to take a risk and great courage. Her courage will always serve as a reminder to women in the legal profession that we are capable of excelling, and the courage Justice Edmon showed and continues to show serves as a significant symbol of strength and confidence to many, many women in the legal profession. So to put a finer point on this, and this was also mentioned, Lee was the very first woman in the 170-year history of the largest court in the nation to serve as presiding judge. The fact that this did not occur until 2011 is surprising and reflects deeply entrenched and antiquated notions of who was competent to lead the Los Angeles Superior Court. It's hard, frankly, to express how significant her selection was, both within the court and throughout the Los Angeles legal community and community at large, for purposes of public accountability and promoting fairness and equal access to justice for all genders and people. Since Lee blazed that trail, others have followed, and to this day, the courage she showed in breaking through what seemed like an impenetrable glass ceiling emboldens women in the judiciary, practicing law, studying law, or thinking about entering the legal profession, and provides confidence that women can succeed and excel in the law. Now I'll quote someone other than myself. As Marian Wright Edelman said, "You can't be what you can't see." Well, we all see Lee, and as a result, there are many of us who feel seen and believe we can endeavor to follow in her footsteps. One more thing worth mentioning about Lee's term as the presiding judge, and this was mentioned in the package, as they say in Hollywood, right? The package. Lee stepped into the presiding judge role as the court fell victim to unprecedented budget cuts. The difficult decision she was forced to make to ensure that the court's doors remained open and the court was able to continue to fulfill its mission required vision, confidence, and courage, not to mention a willingness to take risks. And this is I think what really captures Lee and what is most impressive. That was her ability to have very difficult conversations and make very difficult decisions with grace, empathy, and sensitivity. So let me end with just a couple of comments about who Lee is as a friend. She's totally devoted to the success of her friends. If you call or text her and say, "I need to talk," or "Can you meet?" she pretty much drops what she's doing and makes herself available. Believe me, I have been very much on the receiving end of that lifeline. She does not forget a birthday. And if you're lucky, she will make her famous chocolate cake. She has been known to pack not only the secret ingredients, because it is a secret recipe, but also the cake pans in her carry-on bag, her go bag, so that she can make the cake in any locale as needed. She is truly interested in people, their origin stories, and what makes them tick. She is intrepid and pretty much up for any adventure, whether it's finding a restaurant, seeing a particular landmark, or in our case, making sure we have time in our schedule to go shopping at one of our favorite stores here in San Francisco, which sadly has closed. You name it, she's up for it. Finally, she is totally devoted to her husband, Judge Dick Burge, who could not be here today, and the 4 confident, successful, and kind daughters they have raised together. And Maggie is here with us today. Lee, I am truly honored to be able to pay tribute to you today. I'm fairly certain that I would still be curled up in a fetal position under my desk if I did not have you as a mentor, a role model, a beacon, a person to laugh with, and most importantly, a friend. Congratulations on this well-deserved award and recognition of your dedication to the law, the legal profession, education, diversity, and inclusion.
Thank you. Wow. Chief Justice Guerrero, Presiding Justice Terry Jackson, Administrative Presiding Judge Justice Lori Earle, Presiding Judge Jessner, and her co-conspirators who nominated me for this award, and to the Judicial Council, and to anyone else who had a hand in making this day possible, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. First of all, congratulations to Justice Marcia Slough and Judge Mark Uhas for their awards today. They're both good friends, and their awards are so well-deserved. I'm grateful to be able to share this day with them. I'm truly humbled and honored to receive this award for simply pursuing my lifelong passion for supporting the courts and improving access to justice. I began as a young lawyer by becoming involved in the Los Angeles County Bar Association, the State Bar of California, and the American Bar Association. Over the years, I worked with so many lawyers and judges who became friends and whose efforts were essential to what I was to be able to accomplish. When I became a judge, I continued my passion to support the branch and access to justice. The simple fact is that I feel so blessed to be a part of this judicial branch, to have served as a judge on the LA Superior Court and now in the Court of Appeal have been the highlights of my career. I want to take just a moment to say thank you to some of the folks who've been so supportive over the years. I'm joined here today by some pals who I went through the Superior Court presiding judge experience with. That is the devastating reduced budgets we all experienced during those years. There's nothing quite like that will bond you with that experience for life. Lori Earle, who was the PJ of Sacramento, now the administrative presiding justice of the 3rd District Court of Appeal, and Beth Freeman, who was then presiding judge of San Mateo and who's now a federal district court judge on the Northern District. And of course, Marcia Slough, who was the PJ of San Bernardino and is now on the Court of Appeal. Catherine Feinstein and Cheryl Ellsworth were also pals during that time, but weren't able to be here tonight. And I also have to say that one of the highlights of my time on the bench has been the opportunity to work with Judge Kurt Carnell. Where is Kurt? Somebody, yeah. In educational programs and working with him as a co-author on the Rudder Group's Civil Procedure Before Trial Practice Guide. He's brilliant, and it's been such a pleasure to work alongside him. Also here today as a speaker for Judge Slough is one of the many members of our local bar who I admire, respect, and hold in the highest regard, Gretchen Nelson, a member of the LA County Bar Former President's Club. Finally, I can't move on without mentioning Presiding Judge Samantha Justner, who is such a dear friend. Her words tonight were far too kind, and we find any excuse we can to get together in Los Angeles. She has a career that will surely qualify her for this award in the future. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my brilliant, hardworking staff who make it a joy to come to work every day. Dana, Janet, and Aaron. But I'm going to stop at this point because there are so many people here who are good friends in this room today. I'm so honored that you're all here. Let me just say a couple of words about my wonderful family. Truly, without them, I would not be here today. My parents lived a life of service through our church. They instilled in me the importance of service. Following their lead was just part of my DNA. My husband, Dick, is the same. When we were in private practice and we had 4 daughters to put through college, Dick said, sure, why not? Go ahead and apply for the bench. So he stayed in private practice, and I had the benefit of joining the bench. Thankfully, he became a judge many years later, and we are all better for it. Unfortunately, Dick has health issues this year that kept him from coming up here with me today. But believe me, he's here in spirit. Although this day was not the full family party we had hoped for, I have here with me today my daughter, Kelly, who has literally been our salvation during Dick's health issues this year. And Kelly, in my humble opinion, is one of the kindest human beings around. And hopefully we can persuade her to become the brilliant lawyer that I know she could be. At the reception, I hope you'll all work on her to that end. Once again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.